following takes place between 9 a.m. and 10 a.m. Events occur in real time.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another week of FPC Radio Live. We are fresh off the heels of Sunday's action. I mean, week 2 in the NFL was great. Week 1 in the NFL was great. I mean, the NFL in general is just great, and we get reminded of that each and every weekend. Last night capped off with a great Sunday night football game. And look, I'm excited. I got a lot of victory laps to take. I did pretty well with my picks this week. So let's get started. Let's get talking. John, good morning. How are you doing today?
Good morning, Ian. Fascinating week in the NFL, right? Obviously, you've got a big smile on your face because your main man looks like the best quarterback in football because right now he is the best quarterback in football. And the man that you like to criticize, played well last night, but, off the ball up at an inopportune time for the Kansas City Chiefs. So
I don't
a happy
like
time for Ian.
I don't like to criticize him. I just want to be clear. Unfortunately, that is the task that has been given to me just based on how things have worked out.
I figured it out, Ian. You're the ombudsman, right? You're the
I like that.
People call in that's kind of detached from this because everybody loves Patrick Mahomes, the charismatic guy, fun to watch. He's a great quarterback. I mean, he's accomplished a lot early in his career. But you're the guy that says, just, pump the brakes a little bit. Let me just give you a dose of reality. And that's good. There has to be someone out there to do that. And you're servicing the people quite well.
Well, and again, that's what I feel like the need to be. I mean, I see an unfortunate bad trend with sports commentary, and I feel like I need to be the one that helps clear it up and keeps everyone on point, on focus, everything like that. So that's why I'm here, John. I'm a realist. I'm not a hater. I'm a realist, and I like to kind of keep people. That. Yeah, exactly. I want to keep people focused and their eyes on the prize, so to speak. But you did mention
I am to Bill Belichick what you are to Patrick Mahomes. Like I've always felt that it was more Brady than Belichick, and I think we're kind of seeing that in the first year and 2 games since they've been separated. And I think Belichick's a great coach. I just don't think he's the greatest coach in the history of the sport. I think that Paul Brown was a superior coach, as was Vince Lombardi, and I put Belichick, with Joe Gibbs and a lot of other great coaches. He's right there with them. Doesn't mean I think he sucks, but I don't think he's clearly the best coach in the history of the NFL. So I'm kind of like the Belichick with you are to Mahomes.
Well, again, I mean, this isn't about trying to bring the kid down. I mean, I love watching Mahomes. We've talked about this off there. I love watching him play. I mean, I'm a fan of his, as crazy as that sounds. It's just what's happening down here in Tampa. And I can't take credit for this, unfortunately. But
go ahead.
I mean, he did come down here because I came down here. But so I guess in a way, John, you're right. I should deserve some credit here.
Run with that. Why not?
Yeah, of course. I've ran with lesser connections. So, anyways, what's happening right now down here in Tampa, with who I call quite obviously the best quarterback in the league. So, and I tweeted this last night to quite a response. There's a lot of people that are agreeing with me. I'm starting to agree with me more and more, because me, John, and we've talked about this for a while. I've been saying this for a very, very long time, for the majority of the last couple of years, and I have my reasons. Mostly again revolving around the fact that I believe everything inside the head is more important than all this running around nonsense. Not that it's nonsense. Again, I'm not downplaying it. I'm just saying that people have mistaken different for better, and unfortunately for them, it's just not true. Anyways, 5 touchdowns again. Well, not again, but another 4 plus obviously an extra one this week. 5 touchdowns total. 9 through his first 2 seasons or 2 games this season. Most in his career. More than 2007. Second most all time behind obviously Patrick Mahomes and tied with obviously Manning and I believe Drew Brees and one other. Maybe Brett Favre. I don't know. I'll have to look at the list again. Either way, this we're gonna do our that's your opinion man segment again a little bit later, and mine's going to kind of revolve around this. But I mean, this is a guy who I've counted maybe like on one hand how many bad throws he's actually had, or poor throws, or inaccurate throws, whatever you want to call them, this season. He's been on point. His accuracy is as sharp as it's ever been. His arm strength looks like it's gotten even stronger, and he just looks like this game is so easy. And that's the most incredible thing. Just watching him go up there, read the defense, dictate what's going to happen, call out the plays, and just have it work just about every single time. We talked right before we got on the air, John. We said we were kind of making fun, or at least I was commenting on some of the people that were now pointing to the defense because of the 2 pick sixes, and I was like, the only thing those pick sixes did was prevent Tom Brady from throwing at least 6 touchdowns yesterday, because that was kind of the pace that he was on, and I feel like there's going to be many more opportunities for that throughout the season.
Yeah, I mean, he was spectacular again yesterday, as he was in the opener against Dallas. Look, he's got 9 touchdown passes so far in 2 weeks. He's on pace to throw 77 touchdown passes. You know, he's Barry Bonds in 2001. He's kind of mastered the sport to the point where he has the advantage over the defense. I always felt with Bonds, he was the only hitter I saw for a long period of time who actually had the advantage over the pitcher in the matchup. But normally it's the pitcher that has the advantage, because if he makes a perfect pitch, the batter's not going to do anything of consequence. Well, Brady right now is playing at that same level and has been playing at that level for a long time. This isn't something new. Obviously, the mind evolves. We see that, you know, from an intellectual standpoint, he's at another level than everyone else because he's done more than anyone else and played more than anyone else. But physically, he looks spectacular. Like you said, Ian, the accuracy is right there. The arm strength is right there. I mean, he was throwing some balls yesterday to Antonio Brown. That the touchdown on the corner was just a thing of beauty. I mean, that was a throw that, you know, if Holmes or Rogers had made, people would be, you know, gushing about, and they should gush because Brady made it. I mean, that was a spectacular throw. No, he's playing better than ever, and we talked about this a couple of weeks ago, Ian. This Buccaneers offense is better than the '07 Patriots offense. He's better now than he was in '07, and I think he has more weapons than he had in '07. I mean, Randy Moss, in other words, if we were going to do a draft, right, like take the skilled players of the '07 Patriots and the 2021 Bucs, Moss would be the first pick, right? And then you can make a case that the next 3 or 4 would be Buccaneers, and then you go to Wes Welker. Like, you know, Rob Gronkowski, first of all, looks like it's 2011, and that's, you know, his third or fourth option behind Mike Evans and Godwin and Antonio Brown, and of course you get Gronk, as we said. I mean, I think this offense is better than '07, and also the league is a little bit different. It's easier for offenses, but no, I mean, anybody that pushes back on Twitter that this guy isn't playing at a ridiculously high level is just foolish.
Yeah, I mean, the reality of it is Wes Welker is the only guy that could really break through that second level after Randy Moss.
Right.
You know, you think of their running backs, it was Sammy Morris and Lawrence Maroney. Look, I mean, the running back is still can be a concern. I don't understand why they don't use Giovanni Bernard more in passing situations. It just seems like he's far more adept at running passing routes every time. I mean, there was just even when they did catch him, like, you know, Leonard Fournette. We didn't see much of Ronald Jones yesterday, but when Leonard Fournette did catch the ball, it just, I don't know. It just never. It doesn't seem as fluid as it should be, and I feel like Giovanni Bernard, in the very limited time he's been out there, has certainly looked more James White-esque. But uh, it's incredible. You know, and I know I've seen people out there all the time. Oh, well, any quarterback could do this with this. Well, no, I mean, that's just not how it works. I mean, we've seen plenty of teams with a lot of talent out there. Yes, does it help? Yes, absolutely. You know, you're better off having this lineup than you are having the 2018 or 2019 Patriots offense. You know, post you know, Brown and all those guys. So, but you still need an elite quarterback to make this work. Like, just because you have quote unquote weapons doesn't make you a better decision maker. It doesn't make you better at reading defense. It doesn't make you better at a lot of those things that Brady just excels at. And yeah, does it help? But guess what? Of course it does. But those receivers I almost said more better. How about that? Uh, those receivers benefit more from Brady than Brady benefits from those guys. And if you think that's preposterous, then again, you got to take your blinders off and realize how great this quarterback is, and
Mhm.
how, I mean, and what he's doing now. I saw the stat out there. Brady's 9 touchdowns are more than any other 44-year-old quarterback has ever thrown. George Blanda had thrown, I think, 7 between ages 44 and 48. Like, I mean, this is what we're talking about here. Shattering records that, guess what? They're probably never going to be broken. Eh,
No, they're not. No
Never
one's going to
might be a little.
this is
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, unless there's another cyborg out there in training who's going to play 20 plus years and get better into his 40s than he was in his 20s. And by mid-season, he's going to have thrown more touchdowns in his 40s than in his 20s.
That's
And he's
absurd.
only 44.
That's absurd.
I mean, that really is absurd. Look, there's a slew of all-time great athletes that we can talk about. That this guy's starting to separate himself from everyone else, because to still be the best quarterback in the league at that advanced age is amazing. And the thing that really is striking is that he wants to be the best quarterback
Yeah.
in the league at 44, right? Because I've always felt that he's going to finally just retire when he wakes up one morning and says, "I don't want to go through this anymore. Like I don't want to get up and eat what I'm eating and
Mhm.
train the way I'm training and watch film and go through this process." But he loves the process.
Yep.
That's the scary thing. Like a lot of these great quarterbacks, like Brett Favre hated the process, and then as he got older, it caught up to him. Even David Ortiz talked about that the games weren't a problem. He loved playing in the games. It was the 3 hours getting ready to get his feet ready for the game. It seems like Brady likes the process as much as the game, and that's something that is so unique, right? That's just
Mhm.
like, again, we call him a sociopath, a cyborg, whatever you want. Those adjectives apply to him, but he still wants to be the best quarterback in football. And you know what? He's been that the first 2 weeks of this season, and he won the Super Bowl, 9 months ago. So
Well,
obviously, the guy is playing at a ridiculous level.
this was the Buccaneers' 10th consecutive game scoring at least 30 points, which is now an NFL record.
Yeah.
Surpassing this is one of those things that I just love, because it's like, what do anti-Brady people say to this? Surpassing 2 teams, John, 2,
Sure.
both both led by Tom Brady, both two
Right. Yeah.
Patriots teams, '07 and 2010. So it's so, and they both had streaks of 9. So it's so silly at this point to even suggest anyone otherwise. I know, for a while we do this. Oh, well, you can't really compare eras. And then there was Otto Graham, and then there was Dan Marino. I mean, no one's career has been more inflated after his retirement than Dan Marino's. I mean,
I agree.
like
I agree.
I obviously, look, full disclosure, I am not old enough to have watched the majority of his career.
I am. Yeah.
You are, and you can back me up on this.
He was
Phenomenal start,
sensational.
sensational
He was
talent,
sensational. Yep.
but his accomplishments, even in an era that was not as friendly to the passing game, has been so inflated that
Mhm.
it's almost sickening to me now, because Dan Marino was this all-world athlete that was going to step on the field today and throw 6,000 yards, and I'm like, no, he wouldn't, because people think that, like, you'd just be invincible to today's talent, and it's like it's just getting silly, this like cross generation comparison where it's like, oh, you can't do this because of this, like no one will
Right.
ever beat Otto Graham because he played 75 years ago. Wait, what? No, like
Yeah. No, there's
eventually,
different eras.
yeah,
Right. Yeah. There's different eras.
eventually, yeah,
Yeah. I
eventually,
mean, the guy I always throw in there is Johnny Unitas, because I think if you watch Unitas play, and I didn't really see Unitas play, but
Mhm.
I'll watch a lot of stuff on film. His arm was strong enough that he would have been an elite quarterback now. It's not like
Oh,
he was
sure.
throwing pop-ups
Oh,
out
sure.
there. And he was the ultimate field general. I'm sure Johnny Unitas, up in heaven, is looking down and admires what Tom Brady's doing, because it's that same type of leadership ability, like,
Absolutely.
commands the huddle. But the thing about Marino, and it kind of really pissed me off, because the Athletic came out with their top 100 players of all time, and I just looked at the quarterbacks, right? So Brady's the first quarterback, obviously.
Mhm.
Montana was second. I believe Manning was third. Unitas fourth. Graham was fifth. Then Elway was sixth. I'm fine with all of that. That's probably how I would rate them as well. Then they had Marino as the seventh quarterback ahead of Rodgers. And that really kind of pissed me off because I've seen every Aaron Rodgers game and I've seen every Dan Marino game. Aaron Rodgers is better.
Mhm.
You know what? If you want a tiebreaker, you want a damn Super Bowl. Like Rodgers should have more than one Super Bowl, but he still got one more than Marino. Marino had one league MVP. Rodgers had three. Rodgers still at 37, 38 is still top three quarterback, right? Whereas Marino towards the end was just chucking it up, you know. And look, he played for a great coach, so you can't even go there. I mean, like Rodgers played for Mike McCarthy. Um, Dan Marino played for freaking Don Shula. So it's yeah, I'm with you on that. And I loved watching Marino play. I got to interview him a couple times. A couple times when he was at Pitt, he was great, charismatic guy. You know, the whole thing. Loved watching him play. But I don't think he's the seventh greatest quarterback ever. And that's with factoring in, you know, Unitas and Otto Graham of the Super Bowl era. I even put Brett Favre ahead of him because he has a Super Bowl. And they're pretty similar in terms of what they're accomplished.
In multiple,
Favre does have a Super Bowl.
In multiple
and
MVPs.
3 MVPs. Yeah, so I mean, like, you know, I'm with you on that one. And then again, this is not hatred with Dan Marino. Love him, but let's not put him ahead of Aaron Rodgers. He made the All-Century team over Aaron Rodgers, and it kind of, you know, to me wasn't right. I mean, Rodgers Staubach made it over Aaron Rodgers, and I think they're similar, except I think Rodgers was better. But not to go down that rabbit hole. But yeah, I mean, the Marino does get somewhat overrated. But back to Brady, like I don't care what era that guy was playing in. He would have been successful because it's the way he attacked everything.
Well, and real quick on Marino, it's like, you know, people, you know, he threw the 48 touchdowns in '84. I think he's hit 30 touchdowns only 2 more times the rest of his career. Right. Now, again, you know me, I'm not a big stat guy or whatever. This is more in response to this idea that, you know, he'd step on the field. I've seen people say, oh, he'd average 45 touchdowns a year. And I'm like, no, that's just absurd. And again, it's just all part of this hyperbole that has just overtaken sports discourse that, you know, has become more apparent. But, yeah, like you said, back to Brady, the point of this topic is that it's just getting to the point where these opinions, it's not subjective anymore. To say, you know what I mean? It's getting so hard to argue otherwise, because for every guy, I mean, if you want to sit there and argue Joe Montana, okay, great. For everything you say, double it at least, and that's Tom Brady.
Yeah.
And that's not me just being a honk, and I fully admit it. I'm a Brady honk. You know, look at, you can't see it on the screen, but I got his college degree hanging up over my right shoulder. So, you know, it's just because I'm biased or just because I'm a, you know, like I said, a honk doesn't mean I'm wrong. Because right now we're getting to the absurd level of just, I mean, what are you going to say? Like, whoa, Patrick Mahomes is on pace. No, he's not. he's in his 4th year in the league. You can't project that far in the future. I wish you could. I wish I could, because then I'd be a very rich man. But you can't. And historically, like, you know, we laugh now. I've actually started to laugh less at these comments. But, you know, someone asked him recently if he can play until he's 50. And he didn't deny it.
Right.
And he said it's possible. And I believe him. So 7 more years. Now, let's play a game. We did this yesterday on FBC NFL Sunday. Let's play a game, John. I want to ask you. So
I like games.
Yeah, games are fun. Yeah, except for the ones involving Jigsaw.
On the field.
Yeah. No games involving Jigsaw and games and stuff like that. No, I don't want to be cutting my leg off. But anyways, say he does play until he's 50. And I know folks at home might be laughing, but stop, wait, think about it for a minute, and then you'll realize my laughing probably isn't the right thing right now. But 7 more seasons, including this year. Over under 2.5 Super Bowl wins, not appearances, wins. That's a pretty easy over, isn't it?
Okay, we're discounting, not discounting, but we're not counting last year, right? So we're going
including this year forward.
I still have to go under. That's still ridiculous. I mean, look, if he wins 3 Super Bowls in the next 6 or 7 years, well, we sound absurd with this conversation.
That's what he just did, though. Well, my point is this, John. If you like numbers,
4 and 7, yeah,
he hasn't gone back-to-back seasons without winning a Super Bowl since 2012 and 2013. So you know what? Give me those odds.
And you know, the funny thing is, among all of his accomplishments, like there's a billion of them out there. To me, maybe his biggest accomplishment was he he went 9 years without winning a Super Bowl and still has 7 of them. That's like blows my mind. Like Jordan had 6 and 8 years, and he really didn't play the 2 years in between there where he didn't win it, right? So his was condensed into like an 8-year period. This guy is like, he had a 9-year gap. We didn't win the Super Bowl. And yet over that 9-year period, he was, by all accounts, at least the second best quarterback in football, right there with Peyton Manning. And he went to 2 Super Bowls and he won 2 MVPs. It's not like he went away. I still have to go under, and it's so difficult to win them. Again, their defense doesn't impress me right now. I think they've got a huge game coming up on Sunday against the Rams. That's going to be a really tough test because the Rams are, I think, the second best team in the NFC. I actually picked them to go to the Super Bowl. So I'm going to have to go under. Now, are we leaving this? This is so funny that we're setting rules here for something that sounds totally absurd. But why not?
Is it absurd, John?
It's not. It's not. It sounds it. I mean, the whole idea of playing till he's 50, so it's this year plus 6 more. That does sound absurd. But you know what? Like in 6, 7 years from now, I'll be 64 years old. I hope I'm still alive, and we're still talking on Monday morning about what Brady did the day before. Yeah, I mean, no. Look, there'd be bigger surprises in life than that. Let me put it that way, because I don't know how you really bet against this guy. Well, he just keeps proving himself to be better and better.
Well, I sit here and I'll say the over because, again, I mean, this is assuming he does play until he's 50. And take it, people sit there and be like, oh, well, Father Time. Look, give that up. Give it up. Give it up. Give it up. Eventually, if it happens to catch up to him, so be it. But to use that as a reason as to why he can't do something at this point is just that's just a wish and a prayer. Yeah, I mean, at this point, Father Time is beaten. I mean, you know what? Screw it. Tom Brady is Father Time. Have we ever considered that, John? Maybe he is Father Time. And why the hell would he beat himself up? Okay,
he wouldn't beat himself.
Exactly.
He's broken all his records, but he's not going to beat himself.
Exactly. Like he's at the point of his career right now. We've already talked about it. He's breaking records that he's already set. He has no one else to surpass. And in a great bit of poetry, hopefully, he will surpass Drew Brees' yardage mark in New England in Week 4. However, that's assuming he doesn't go absurd next week. I mean, again, they do play the Rams, so it might be a little bit more difficult. But I mean, I've said it before. Like, if you're telling me the number one defense versus Tom Brady, give me Tom Brady every time. He has the advantage. Forget about the defense. Like, defenses are great, and this is actually going to be a nice segue into our this question I have for you. Because I look at, in going back to the whole over thing, I look at this year, I think they're winning the Super Bowl. I just look at it and I'm like, look, this is a guy who I don't think anyone's playing at his level right now. And the closest to him, the Mahomes, the Rodgers of the world, I just don't see a reason why I would bet against him. So count 1 this year, 1.5 over the next 6 years. I'll take that over, no problem.
Yeah, no, it's very likely. I mean, and they've got a good front office. I think Jason Light's an outstanding general manager. I mean, the Buccaneers were drafting well before Brady showed up. They were building a nice roster. That's why he decided to go there. Or that was one of the places he wanted to go. He's a smart guy. He's like LeBron. LeBron, has sets his sights, his goals, and kind of knows what he wants to do next, like Brady, obviously. The only 2 things you have to obviously talk about is some sort of injury, because it's a catastrophic injury, which we hope, of course, never happens, because no matter what you're doing at that advanced stage, recovery is difficult. The other thing is, like I said, does he just wake up one day and say, I'm done? I've given everything. I just got nothing left in the tank. And that happens with some athletes,
I don't see
he's
it.
That guy. He's such a sociopath. But you know what? So was Jordan, and Jordan kind of like at some point said, I'm done.
Yeah, but he also Jordan also walked away in the middle of his career. Jordan also walked away for other reasons. So I don't even think those two are on the same level
Jordan
in that
was not
sense.
As focused as him. No, this guy is like ridiculously focused. Like everything in his day revolves around him being the best quarterback, the best leader for that team. We've never seen anything like it. Maybe he wants to, catch and surpass Bill Russell. I mean, that would be absurd. Like, I never thought anyone would approach 11 championships. Maybe that's his next goal. He surpassed Jordan, so it's like, Why not go after Bill Russell and get 11 Super Bowls?
Look,
Why not?
he's already at the level of guys who won quote unquote NFL championships back in the day when just being
Yeah.
the best team at the end of the season warranted winning a championship, which again which is funny in the sense because people sit there and be like, oh, well, Otto Graham had 9 NFL championships. Well, again, like half of them came by virtually just winning the division. But the funny part is like Brady's going to catch him in Super Bowls, especially again if he does play, those 5-6 more years. So
I think Graham has 7. I think Graham has 7.
I think it was maybe. I don't know. I'll have to check. I'll
get
have
all
to
the
look
Clark
it up
judge,
again.
will you? Get
Yeah,
Clark on the blower.
I'll call him. I'll get him going.
Clark
but
all this. Well, Clark, you've learned from Clark. Clark loves Tom Brady.
Oh, of course he does. Yeah.
You and Clark could have a 5-minute embrace.
Well, he appreciates greatness and watching things that just have never and will never happen again. Obviously a concern, kind of bringing us back to the present. The concern, obviously, with the Bucks, and well, let's not, put too much stock in the 2 pick sixes. That defense is questionable at best. They have shown so far in these 2 games that they're not this elite group that people have made them out to be over the last 6 months. People are talking like they were like the 85 Bears for months on end, and it's not that. Are they talented? Absolutely. Do they have talent? Sure. Is their run defense perhaps the best in the league? Absolutely. But in a totality, they're just not a great unit. So of course that could be a obstacle along the way. However, John, we saw Kansas City last night. We've seen Baltimore. We've seen even a team that we thought was really good on defense, the Rams, still be susceptible to giving up a lot of points and yards. So is there really an elite defense in the NFL right now? Because I don't think I see one. And that's good news for the Bucks.
No. Yeah, because they'll just outscore everybody because their offense is the best offense. So at that point, you just say, okay, it's an offensive league. Let's pick the best offense. It's like Golden State 3-4 years ago, right? They just had the best offense, so they were going to just outscore everybody. That's what you can expect from Tampa. I think it's still early in the season. Let's let things evolve. I'll be like the old man in this discussion and be cautious because I think when you have 3 exhibition games like they had this year, and there's just not a lot of hitting and training camp and added practices, that the defenses are far behind the offenses. Remember in 2011, after the lockout and the season when they came back, everybody was putting up ridiculous numbers. Didn't Brady throw for like 513 against the Dolphins in the
opening
week
week
of the season? I think Rodgers and Brees put up like 80 points on opening night. I think it was 42-34 Packers. Opening night of 2011. Cam Newton, his first 2 games as an NFL starter, he had over 400 yards passing because the training camp had been, compromised. So the offenses were so far ahead of the defenses. So again, maybe a good defense will emerge. Not an elite defense. Hell no. There's no defense as good as the most recent dominant defense that we saw was probably the 2015 Broncos.
Yeah.
That was a team that carried a team to the Super Bowl, right? The 18 Patriots were really good, but they weren't at that level because, let's not forget Brady had to outscore Mahomes, in the AFC Championship game that year. And they put up over 40 against the Chargers in the divisional round. It's just the Super Bowl turned into this weird team, which they won 13-3. But yeah, there's no elite defense right now. I think the Rams have some talent there because you've got, the best defensive lineman in the sport, Aaron Donald, and maybe the best corner in Jalen Ramsey, but there's still 9 other guys that
let me ask,
make it an elite defense.
Let me ask you, would you ever give them the edge over Tom Brady Buccaneers offense?
No. I wouldn't give any defense right now an edge over Brady's offense. No, like you said, Ian, we're now looking at 10 straight games of 30 or more points.
And again, look,
I don't see it. I would okay, who's going to put enough pressure on him? That's really the only way you're going to derail him. If he has time in the pocket, how the hell are you covering all those guys? There isn't a team in football right now or ever that has enough guys in the secondary. They're going to deal with all those weapons. So you better put pressure on him. And that offensive line is good. That offensive line is really good. And of course, he sets it up with the proper protection. And, good luck trying to put pressure on him because he knows what he's doing out there. It's not going to be like Zach Wilson or Mac Jones, like running into sacks. I mean, he gets out of them.
Well,
Even
and
my guy Justin Herbert struggled yesterday with some of the pass rush.
well,
But obviously, to compare those guys to Brady, ludicrous. The guy feels like he invented the sport.
well, and look, I mean, we've seen it too a lot, and the reason I know this is because I'm often told on Twitter that Brady can't complete a pass if he has pressure, and then I just go to the the long list of examples just from the last 12 and a half 12, 16 months or so of him doing just that, and it's like it's amazing, and this is something that he's done his entire career, is how he can keep his eyes downfield at all times, no matter what, and we've seen him with just deadly accurate throws, with just knowing he's going to get hit by defenders, and that's just something that just goes unnoticed by a lot of people. How good he is at that, and it's certainly a treat. And like I said, I don't believe there's going to be an elite defense really in this league. Are the Rams a pretty good one? Yeah, I think so. But I look at this matchup and say advantage Brady, and I don't even think twice about
Yeah,
it.
no, it's up to him. Yeah, I mean, the only way is if he has a bad day, which look, I doesn't have many of them, but look, he's a human. Last time I checked, maybe he's not, but he could have a bad game. That's probably the best way to hope, but that's not a really good way to go into a playoff game.
Yeah,
just hope the quarterback has
yeah.
a bad game, and if he doesn't by chance, which he doesn't generally have bad game, we're really screwed.
Well,
I mean that's.
Yeah, but at some point, this is kind of where you're at with Brady right now, and then we're going to kind of curve this conversation because I just put my picks up on the board because I do want to go back and let everyone see that I did pretty well this weekend. I was only off on a couple of games. The Saints and Carolina, I picked the Saints. That was a little foolish. I got a little Jameis happy there, I think. And, quickly got brought back down to earth. Because I think we asked the question, or one of the things we pondered was, what Jameis are we going to get? And I think we got closer to what we're going to get used to this past Sunday. I picked the Chargers, like you said. They struggled a bit, lost to the Cowboys there at the end. Titans, nice comeback against the Seahawks. I don't want to say maybe not my biggest takeaway, but I wasn't look, the Bills looked good. Josh Allen still didn't really wow me. And I think that's the biggest thing moving forward for this team. And we talked about it a lot, is who's Josh Allen going to be this year? Is he going to be the guy from the first two seasons? Is he going to be slightly better than that? Or is he going to be last season's Josh Allen? And so far, he's a lot closer to years 1 and 2 than he is year 3. And despite winning 35-0, you think, oh, he must have had a great game. He didn't have that great of a game. He had a couple really nice throws, but there was still some concerning parts of his game that, again, if I'm on the Bills, that or at least if you're a Josh Allen fan who thinks he's a permanent mainstay in the MVP conversation, maybe you're worried a little bit. What did you see?
Yeah, I mean he still plays skittish oftentimes.
Inaccurate.
And I said this before, inaccurate. Yeah, and that type of, when you're skittish, now it's going to lead to inaccuracy, right? It's almost like a basketball player. If the mechanics aren't right, you're going to miss shots. Same thing with a quarterback. If the mechanics are off, you're going to start becoming inaccurate. There are a few guys that can get away with it. The guys with the ridiculous arm talent. Now he has a strong arm. I don't think he has a naturally accurate release. He was outstanding last year. Yeah, I mean, I still think he's up and down. And I said this before the season, Ian. The difference last year is there were no fans in the stands, so he was playing much calmer. Now that there's fans in the stands, whether you're in Buffalo and they're cheering for you or you're on the road, they're cheering against you, he seems to play into that, right? So that could lead to some issues there. I prefer Herbert over him, although Herbert was not great yesterday against Dallas either. I think that those are the two guys that, at some point will challenge Mahomes as the best quarterback in football when Brady and Rodgers move on. Brady may outlast them all, for all we know. But I think that there's still some things in Josh Allen's game that are a little troubling because at times also he tries to do too much, which he doesn't quite get the idea of, okay, let's punt on this play and move to the next play, the series isn't over. Especially when you see interceptions on first down. Those are things that you can't have happen. I mean, if it's 4th and 10 and you're going for it, you throw it down the field and it's intercepted. Actually, that's better than the other alternative. So yeah, I think he still has question marks without question.
And my biggest obviously concern is the accuracy. I've seen so many. Maybe it's a throw to the it's a throw to the sideline, but the receiver or no, it's supposed to be like one of those like little skinny posts up the sideline, but he throws it to the outside, and like sometimes Stephon Diggs can contort his body and get to it, other times he can't, or it's thrown low or thrown high as like his specialty. So for me, through 2 games, there's certainly some red flags and something I want to watch because Miami isn't. They're good. I mean, I after yesterday, it's hard to, Tua going down. I mean, not that it would have been, it was much better with, would have been much better with him in there, but that game just, I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Dolphins after that game. I don't want to overreact and say, oh, they suck because, I do think that they have a pretty good team and I think they're well coached. But, if you're going with Jacoby Brissett moving forward, no knock on Jacoby Brissett, and I don't really think it's that much of a downgrade, to be honest with you. You're even further down the talent totem pole, so to speak. So I'm certainly concerned for the Dolphins, even the Bills. Again, going up against some of these other elite teams in the league, I just don't know if they're going to be able to compete playing the type of offense that they've been playing, or at least the type of quarterback play, at least.
Yeah, I'm not totally sold on them either. I mean, they had a great year last year, and Josh Allen was an MVP candidate, get all that. But to come back the next year, you have to do it again to prove yourself, especially as a young player and as a young team. So Miami, look, that Patriots loss in Week 1 really hurts more for the Patriots because that was obviously a winnable game, and then Miami the following week goes out and gets blitzed by Buffalo 35-0. So that loss looks even worse. So I think that look, I'm not sold on Miami either. They rely so heavily on special teams and turnovers. So if you go up against a team that takes care of the football, doesn't make mistakes, has solid turnovers, Miami doesn't have a lot of ways to beat you. I'm not high on them either. I don't think that they're anything great. And look, Tua is, I think he's going to be Sam Bowie.
Yeah.
Not exactly a compliment.
No, I couldn't see how it is. Yeah, I don't see
not
any way that.
Guy, not that Sam Bowie's a bad person or Tua's a bad person, but the Dolphins took Tua instead of Justin Herbert. So in the next 10 years, the Dolphins are going to wish they took Herbert over Tua.
Well,
it's been a contender.
I just haven't.
I'm not saying Herbert's Michael Jordan. I'm not going.
Yeah. Well, I just honestly, I just haven't seen. I haven't really seen what's so special about Tua. And I'm trying to say that the most diplomatic way. I don't mean to like knock the kid or anything like that, but I'm looking at it now and I'm like, if we're going to look at some, like you said, some of the young quarterbacks in the league, whether the ones that were just drafted this past spring or the ones that have been in for a couple of years, there's a lot of other quarterbacks. I'm sitting here saying like, you know what, I'd rather roll the dice with him as opposed to Tua. In which case, where does that put them in the hierarchy of the AFC East? Well, for what it's worth, the game plan is obviously very, very vanilla and very protective for Mac Jones, but he looks like a guy who doesn't like to turn the ball over and who protects the ball. Even in his mistakes, even in broken down plays, we've seen him have a tendency to throw the ball away, not try to make something out of nothing, i.e. the Patrick Mahomes interception yesterday, which should have just taken a sack. A sack. You don't have to play hero ball all the time. What happens? Well, you throw a pick and you lose the game. So if Mac doesn't seem to be making those type of decisions early. Like he seems to be very grounded. I mean, again, the game plan is very protective for him. It's very, keep it short, keep it simple, high percentage throws. Make sure you're not being put in that situation. But we know that just because the game plan does that doesn't mean quarterbacks don't have the ability to go off book and off script and make mistakes. I mean, if you're interception prone, no matter what the game plan is, you're going to throw interception. Mac Jones isn't a guy who goes,
Winston.
Yeah, exactly.
Jameis Winston. Yeah, one week he looked like the greatest quarterback. Well, Although I think his performance against Green Bay was overrated because I think he and you could have went out throwing 5 touchdown passes against the
Well,
Packers
my
last week.
shoulder's not
They
as
weren't
good as
even
it
into
used
it.
to be, but
Well,
point
all
taken.
right,
Point
4
taken.
touchdown passes. How's that sound? 4
Fair enough.
touchdown
Fair
passes.
enough.
But then perfectly he comes back and throws 2 interceptions. Yesterday, one of them was god awful. I mean, it looked like something out of a if you were
Jameis
playing
Winston game.
the Jameis, it looked like every other Jameis
Yeah.
Winston game. Like the one where he was just about to get sacked, and he just like chucked it up there. It looked like something that if you had quarterbacks playing horse, like that would be a patchy attempt in a horse game, but obviously not in a real football game. So yeah, I mean, and even I was watching Zach Wilson yesterday, and he was a disaster.
Oh yeah, that was bad. He looked way in over his head.
Well, but at least like you said with Tua, I don't see any wow factor with Tua. I do see some wow factor with Zach Wilson. Like, I mean, I know he threw 4 interceptions, but he threw a couple of balls yesterday. Like, holy crap, I can see where people would be intrigued by the talent. Now, obviously, you got a lot of cleaning up to do to get to a a high level. But at least you can see that with Tua, I see a small, unathletic quarterback with an average
poor
arm.
man's Kyler Murray. And like
not even
like
Kyler's an elite athlete. Yeah, I mean, and Kyler has a cannon. Like, I mean, but small. You're right. I mean, like,
yeah, maybe
really
Kyler Murray, like the knockoff Kyler Murray. But and again, I mean, we're not trying to pile on the kid. It's just we're on the same page here. We've seen enough. Like with Zach Wilson, I'm not ready to make like he had a terrible game against the Patriots. I mean, a lot of rookie quarterbacks do against Bill Belichick defense, but it's way too soon for me to make some sort of statement of whether or not I think I can. You know what I mean? Like wow factor is one thing, but with Tua, we've got a nice sample size of what he is as of a quarterback. Now, it doesn't mean he can't get better and that he won't. I mean, it's still relatively young, but we have enough to make some sort of educated judgment. And again, I haven't seen if it's there. I haven't seen it yet. That's the point. And if I'm looking at quarterback rankings right now in that division, I'll give Josh Allen the credit by default. But guess what? Number 2 is probably Mac Jones, as crazy as it sounds, and he's just scratching the surface of what he could potentially do. And it's such a neutered game plan that I'm eager to see what happens when they eventually do open the playbook a bit up. And maybe opening the playbook's not the right word, but taking more calculated risk. Because more risks don't mean better. I mean, that's one thing people confuse all the time. Just because you take risks doesn't make it good. I mean, guess what? Your job as a quarterback is to not turn the ball over and score points. Sometimes risks pay off, but they're risks because they're low percentage. So the good thing is we see Mac not wanting to take those risks, willing to do whatever the game plan calls. I would like to see them more aggressive in the red zone. That has been an issue where they kind of stall, and we really haven't seen much in that sense. But I also, again, chalk that up to a very conservative game plan to start his career. And so far, again, for what it's worth, he hasn't thrown an interception in 69 passes. So.
Yeah, no, he's come as advertised. I think he's obviously going to get better as time goes on, and he built up some rapport with his players. Obviously, I think the tight ends have to step up more. You spend a lot of money on Jonathan Smith and Hunter Henry. Spent $25 million a year on 2 tight ends, who quite frankly are good players, but not great players. You need them to step up more because those are the guys that you need in the red zone, right? I mean, and I think that's going to be a big advantage. They've got a game coming up on Sunday against the schizophrenic Saints. Like what Saints team is showing up to Foxborough on Sunday. If you can get that win, because that's important, and then you get Brady coming in next week, and it's like good luck with that.
Yeah. Look, I like what I like. I think this Patriots defense does have potential to be a pretty good unit. I mean, their run defense needs fixing. I think I think J.C. Jackson is playing himself into a very nice contract, but for now, he's certainly benefiting this Patriots defense. Getting Stephon Gilmore back, I think, fixes a lot of those issues because all of a sudden it just gives you, an absurdly elite talent to add to this mix into a unit that again can help control a lot. But real quick, because we really didn't leave us too much time. Thoughts on Green Bay and the Lions today? I think we're both taking Green Bay in this situation. I do think that Aaron Rodgers bounces back from a obviously a rough game, and I wrote a kind of a by the numbers piece for the Patriots Jets game, and I called the Jets the ultimate get right game, and I think this is the ultimate get right game for the Packers. I do think that this isn't going to be a over the top elite Aaron Rodgers game, because I do think long term issues are still there. I do think that there is a element of having checked out, not completely, and I'm not saying that he's just given up. I'm not saying that, but I think in order to do the jobs that they do, and I'm talking about a quarterback, and especially the best of the best, you need 100% buy-in, and I think he might be at like 85%, and that's a huge drop off. It doesn't sound like a lot, but it's a huge drop off. So I do think that they get right. I do think that they win this game. Um, I do think it's going to be a high scoring game, though. Like for whatever reason, I feel like the Lions are at their best. They can score a lot of points, and at their worst, they can give up a lot of points, and you often get that both in the same game. So, at the end of the day, I think this is going to be. On my sheet here on the screen, there's an over/under set of 47.5. I think that definitely clears that. And if you can see on the screen all the green check marks next to my over/under, you might want to listen to me.
You love those green check marks.
I love it.
You.
I love it.
Week 1, the Lions lost 41-33. Now, they scored 16 points in the final 2.5 minutes to make it closer against San Francisco. But, Jared Goff can put up some points on the board. I think that Green Bay will right themselves tonight, but I don't think they're going to cover the 11.5. Because I agree with you on my man Rodgers. He just doesn't look like he's totally focused. Now, tonight he can go out and throw 5 touchdown passes and look like Aaron Rodgers is quite capable of doing that. But at least Detroit looks like they play hard for this coach, Dan Campbell, who, I think if you took all 32 coaches and had like an over-the-top battle royal, he would probably win. But either him or Mike Vrabel. I think that there would be the two survivors, right?
Who would bite a kneecap first?
He bites the kneecap first. I mean, like those two guys obviously would be the last man standing, I think. Although Robert Saleh is a pretty macho-looking dude as well. But yeah, I think they'll play hard for him. And I agree with you. I think it's going to be one of those games where it's like 31-24, that type of game. The Packers will win, but not cover, and there'll be a lot of points.
Yeah, I'm thinking 31-27. That'll be my thing.
Yeah, no, it could be a weird game. Yeah.
And actually, I almost dropped the ball here. I almost Clyde Edwards-Helaire this episode because we didn't give our opinion, man. So I'm gonna do this real quick. We can do this. It's not gonna take long. This way we can end the show right, because I do want to make sure that I get my opinion out there. So without further ado,
well, that's just like your opinion, man.
that's right. So this week, I kind of again alluded to it earlier. I think Tom Brady is going to break the touchdown record, and for a lot of reasons. One, obviously, the added game, that helps, certainly. The start, too, that helps. But the coach, it's very obvious that Bruce Arians values individual achievements. And as much as Tom is company guy as you can get, and he will hand the ball off if told to and have no problem doing it, and he will audible to a run if he feels like it's a better call. I'm sure he likes the fact that Bruce Arians wants him to throw a lot of touchdown, passes. Like, I believe that Bruce Arians looks at Tom Brady throwing a lot of touchdown passes as a important goal for this team. It's just a different philosophy from Bill Belichick. So I'm looking at him saying, well, we saw him how many times throw short, down at the goal line? Like in most cases, you would think maybe a running back or two would get a touchdown. That happened last year, not so much this year. So my opinion, John, is that 55 touchdowns at the end of the season will no longer be the season record.
I agree with you, and it may not just be Brady who breaks the record. I mean, I think he's going to set the record. I mean, he could throw 70, and it wouldn't shock me. But I think there'll be a couple of other quarterbacks that break the record because, again, the added game is just the way the league is right now. Like, when a guy throws 3 touchdown passes, it looks as an average game. Like with the great quarterbacks, whether it be Brady, Rodgers, Mahomes. Like, if Rodgers goes on and throws 3 touchdown passes tonight, I'm going to say, Jesus, he's really not being Aaron Rodgers, because in this situation, you expect him to throw 5, right? So I think that that's where we're at in the league. Again, especially early in the season, there's no pushback from the defense. So, yeah, I think he's going to break the record without question. And what a cherry on top of the Sunday that would be. Like at 44 years old, he goes ahead and breaks the touchdown record in a single season as he's, just extending his record for most touchdown passes in his career, most yards. I mean, he's starting to get into kind of like Wayne Gretzky territory where it's looking really strange when you look at the numbers.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. No, I'm excited to see how it plays out this year. Let's just put it this way. So, what's your big proclamation from this weekend? What's going down in the hopefully not old takes exposed department for John Savage?
Yeah, the New Orleans Saints are the schizophrenic Saints, as I called them earlier. They are the NFL, right? One week you beat the Super Bowl contender 38-3. You look great doing it. The next week you go on the road and lose to Carolina 26-7. Who the hell are the New Orleans Saints? Well, they feel like the NFL. From week to week, you don't know what you're getting with a lot of teams, and we'll see what happens Sunday when they come to Gillette Stadium to play the Patriots. So the Saints, they are the NFL.
Real quick before we let go, one of my favorite, I guess, memes that came out of all this was someone putting side by side 2 pictures of Jameis Winston, with the how it started, how it's going, and the one on the left is him eating W's, and the other one on the right is that picture with him on the sidelines last year when he's looking up off the tablet, eyes wide, like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? So that was pretty funny, and it gave me a good laugh.
Yep.
Folks, thank you very much for tuning in. We're going to be back, obviously, throughout the week. We're going to give our quarterback power rankings tomorrow, week 2, and we're going to have a lot of fun doing it. So for myself, Ian Glendon, and John Savage, we say thank you very much, and be sure to tune in later today. And if you want to go back and listen to this show, of course, search it on wherever you get your podcast, FBC Radio Live, and you'll be able to download, listen to us over and over and over again. Have a great day, folks, and we'll talk to you tomorrow.